You may not notice it yet, but every emotion you cling to has been quietly shaping your life, threading unseen patterns through your decisions, your energy, your very sense of self. Anger, frustration, longing, disappointment, they come uninvited, storming through your mind like waves against a cliff, and too often you surrender, letting them carve their marks deep into your soul. Yet imagine a life where you observe these waves without drowning in them, where you feel the pull but remain unshaken, where your inner world becomes a sanctuary rather than a battlefield. This is not a promise of emptiness or detachment from love. It is the mastery of your emotional domain, the ability to choose presence over reaction, clarity over chaos. And if you've ever wanted to experience the quiet power of self-possession, this is the doorway. Before we journey further, take a moment to pause, breathe deeply, and notice the rhythm of your own awareness. If you feel that pull toward inner mastery, consider subscribing so this path remains within reach, guiding you through every choice, every thought, every subtle pulse of feeling. The truth is, your emotions are not enemies, nor are they arbiters of truth. They are signals, messages from the deeper self, reflections of desires, wounds, and unmet needs. The way you respond to them is the crucible in which your character is forged. Imagine observing a storm from a high cliff. The wind lashes, the rain falls, and yet you are untouched, grounded, aware. Emotional detachment does not mean shutting down. It means understanding the storm without letting it sweep you away. In practice, this begins with a simple yet profound exercise. Before reacting, notice the emotion without judgment. Name it. Trace it to its origin. Feel it, yes, but do not let it dictate the motion of your hands, the tone of your voice, or the cadence of your thoughts. There is freedom in this awareness, a quiet rebellion against automatic suffering, a reclamation of sovereignty over your own mind. The storm may rage outside, yet you remain steady, a lighthouse guiding your own consciousness through the waves. And yet, the mind resists at first. Detachment feels like withdrawal, like turning away from life, but it is, in truth, the most intimate engagement with it. Every reaction that once scattered your energy can now become a choice, deliberate and conscious. You may notice patterns, old hurts that trigger disproportionate anger, expectations that weigh more than reality, attachments that silently sap joy. The practice is simple in form, but profound in effect. Pause. Breathe. Step back from the narrative your mind is spinning, and witness it with gentle curiosity. When you act from this space, your words carry weight, your decisions carry clarity, and your life moves not in reaction to circumstance, but in resonance with your highest intentions. It is subtle, and it is powerful. And as you begin to see these transformations, consider keeping this journey close. Subscribing keeps the wisdom flowing, always ready for when life's storms arrive unexpectedly. Detachment is not isolation. It is the cultivation of inner freedom, a recognition that the world will not always bend to your desires, that people will hurt you, that plans will falter. But freedom lies in the space between stimulus and reaction, in the conscious choice to meet the world without surrendering yourself. The practice is ongoing, daily, invisible to the eyes of others, but transformative to your own sense of being. Each moment you pause before responding, each breath you take before reacting, each gentle refusal to be swept away by anger, fear, or longing, builds an inner architecture of calm and strength. And as you sit with this realization, allow yourself to feel gratitude for the power that resides within your own mind, for the mastery that is available to anyone willing to step back, observe, and choose. This is your inheritance, your silent victory over the tumult of living. But the story doesn't end there. Awareness alone is not enough. It must be married to deliberate practice. Emotional detachment requires conscious training, as muscles trained with repetition grow stronger. Begin by noticing small irritations, small disturbances that previously would have sent your mind spiraling. Observe without judgment. Step into the role of witness. Let the emotional energy pass through you like water through a riverbed. Over time, the storms that once shattered your peace will come and go, leaving you untouched, a calm observer who acts not from reflex but from clarity. And in this practice, there is a hidden reward. an intimate familiarity with yourself, an understanding of your triggers, and a newfound compassion for the humanity of others, whose storms are theirs to navigate, not yours to carry. Emotional detachment is the art of standing fully in your truth while remaining open, the practice of choosing the lens through which you perceive the world. As you continue to cultivate this space, allow yourself moments of reflection, journaling, or simply silent observation. Notice how the weight of old grievances feels lighter, how your mind begins to respond rather than react, and how your choices become aligned with your deeper purpose. Each small victory compounds, and soon the quiet strength within becomes your default state. And as you travel this path, gently consider joining this community of seekers. Subscribing keeps these reminders at hand, a subtle nudge back toward presence when life's distractions grow loud. Yet a deeper question arises. What does it mean to truly release attachment, not only to emotions but to outcomes, to expectations, to identities that no longer serve you? Here, detachment meets the spiritual dimension of freedom. To let go does not mean abandoning life. It means embracing it without clinging, engaging fully without losing yourself. Every moment you meet this practice, you step into the flow of life rather than against it. You begin to see the impermanence of circumstance, the transient nature of praise and blame, and the serenity that comes when your center is unmoved by the tides outside. The world remains chaotic, unpredictable, and demanding, yet your internal state grows like a garden in sunlight, untouched by storms, nourished by deliberate cultivation. And as you sit with this, allow yourself to imagine the subtle influence this detachment can have on others. Your calm becomes a beacon. Your clarity becomes contagious. Without forcing, without preaching, your presence teaches by example. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to exercise compassion without absorption, empathy without surrender. This is the quiet mastery of emotional detachment. To live fully, feel deeply, yet remain sovereign over your own mind. And if these ideas resonate, consider subscribing, not as a passive act, but as a conscious alignment with your intention to cultivate strength, calm, and clarity in the world. You have begun to notice the storms within, the impulses that rise unbidden, the subtle currents that pull your mind into turbulence. But awareness is only the first layer. True mastery emerges when you step beyond observation into deliberate action, when you shape your identity not by circumstance, not by reaction, but by conscious choice. Consider for a moment, every habit, every reaction, every attachment is a thread in the fabric of who you believe yourself to be. And if you could choose which threads remain, which unravel, which weave the story of your higher self, what would that story look like? This is where detachment becomes alchemy, transforming chaos into clarity, reflex into intention, emotion into insight. And as you follow this path, the mind will naturally seek guidance, the heart will naturally seek resonance. And for those who wish to remain steady companions on this journey, subscribing becomes more than a gesture. It becomes a commitment to the cultivation of presence and the evolution of self. The practice begins with noticing the stories you tell yourself, the narratives that color each emotional wave. Often, these stories are inherited, automatic, unexamined, yet they dictate your perception of the world. You might catch yourself believing that criticism diminishes your worth, that rejection defines your value, that anger is a necessary response to injustice. But here lies the power of detachment, to step back, to question, to hold the story lightly and see the underlying truth. Practice this by asking, is this thought a reflection of reality or a reflection of my attachment to an old belief? Pause, breathe, and let the tension loosen. The mind, once trained in automatic reaction, begins to operate with intention. Each moment of pause becomes a seed of freedom, and freedom grows like sunlight in the chambers of your consciousness. Yet the transformation is not merely mental, it is embodied. Emotional detachment extends into the body, into the way you carry yourself, into the space you occupy. Tension stored in the shoulders, the jaw, the chest, is often the physical residue of attachments and unprocessed feelings. When you practice conscious detachment, allow your body to mirror your inner state. Stand tall, Breathe deeply, soften the muscles that cling to old stories, and move through life with the quiet assurance of one who is centered. Every interaction becomes a laboratory, an opportunity to respond with awareness rather than habit, to align your actions with your higher intentions rather than with transient impulses. Over time, this alignment transforms not only your experience but the energy you radiate, attracting situations and people that resonate with your newfound calm and clarity. And yet, detachment also challenges identity. The self you have known, the self shaped by expectations, fears, and habitual reactions, will resist. It will whisper that surrendering attachment is weakness, that stepping back is avoidance, that neutrality is indifference. But the paradox is that true strength lies precisely in the capacity to observe without being consumed, to care deeply without being controlled, to love fully without losing yourself. Begin by identifying one area in your life where you feel overinvested, where emotions have led to repeated cycles of stress or disappointment. Practice stepping back. Observe without judgment. Let the intensity exist without letting it dictate your state. With each deliberate act of measured presence, the old self loosens its grip, and the higher self begins to emerge, one quiet, powerful choice at a time. As your awareness deepens, you will discover the profound freedom in shifting your relationship with outcomes. So often, suffering arises not from circumstance itself, but from clinging to what should have been, from demanding life conform to expectation. Detachment invites you to embrace impermanence, to honor the unfolding of events without forcing them to your will, to participate fully in life without grasping. Begin with small exercises. Release a minor frustration without complaint. Watch an expectation dissolve without resistance. Allow a moment of uncertainty to exist without panic. These micro-practices accumulate, and soon you will find yourself responding to the world with fluidity, grace, and authority over your internal state. This is the subtle mastery that transforms ordinary living into a conscious, sovereign experience. And as you cultivate this detachment, notice how relationships evolve. The need to control, to manipulate outcomes, or to demand validation begins to loosen. You encounter others not as mirrors of your insecurities, but as individuals navigating their own journey. Compassion grows naturally, not as sacrifice but as presence, and communication becomes more precise, more authentic, more powerful. Emotional detachment allows you to participate fully in the lives of others while remaining rooted in your own inner equilibrium. You begin to see the beauty of connection untainted by dependency, the richness of interaction guided by clarity rather than need, the liberation of love that does not possess but honors. And if you are following this path alongside us, subscribing ensures that these reminders, these invitations to presence, continue to arrive, gently guiding your practice with each passing day. Yet there is another layer, the integration of purpose. Detachment is not an end in itself, but a bridge to living with intention. When emotions no longer dictate every step, you reclaim energy, attention, and focus for what truly matters: your values, your mission, your legacy. Each act of conscious response builds a life aligned with meaning, a life that honors your higher self and contributes to something greater than the immediate noise of circumstance. Begin each day with reflection. What matters most today? Where will I place my energy, my attention, my love? As you act from this space, life ceases to feel like a series of battles and begins to feel like a dance of purposeful engagement, each movement informed by clarity, each choice guided by presence. And yet, even mastery is a practice. There will be setbacks, moments when old attachments rise unbidden, when emotions threaten to sweep you into the familiar chaos of reaction. Here, patience is your ally, and compassion toward yourself becomes essential. Each lapse is not failure but information, each challenge an invitation to return to your center, each stumble a reminder of the path you have chosen. In these moments, pause, breathe, observe. Notice the resurgence of old patterns, but refuse to surrender. Respond consciously, and with every intentional act, your inner architecture of calm grows stronger, more resilient, more radiant. This is the rhythm of transformation, the pulse of the liberated mind, the heartbeat of conscious presence. But the journey does not stop at inner mastery. Emotional detachment invites a profound engagement with the world itself, a recognition that freedom within expands outward, influencing every interaction, every choice, every creation. As you step into this space, allow your presence to become a force of clarity, calm, and purpose. Whether in personal relationships, professional endeavors, or quiet moments of solitude, the ripples of your inner sovereignty extend beyond the self. Life begins to respond, not because you control it, but because you have become attuned to its flow, capable of meeting it without being swept away. And as you continue on this path, subscribing becomes more than a ritual. It becomes an act of alignment, a declaration that your growth, your calm, your mastery are priorities in the rhythm of your life. By now, you have witnessed the storms within and begun to navigate them with conscious awareness, choice, and presence. Yet awareness and practice alone are not the summit. True mastery arises when these principles become inseparable from the rhythm of your life. Emotional detachment is no longer an exercise, no longer a pause before action. It becomes your natural state, your internal compass guiding every thought, every word, every movement. You begin to notice that even when the world grows chaotic, your mind remains a calm ocean, reflecting but not swallowing, engaging but not clinging. This is not an escape. It is an embrace of life without surrendering your sovereignty. And as you sit with this truth, consider letting this journey extend beyond the voice in your headphones. Subscribing ensures these reminders, these whispers of presence, are always within reach, ready to anchor you in moments when life feels overwhelming. Integration requires deliberate reflection, an intimate conversation with yourself about who you are becoming. Ask, which attachments have served me, and which have confined me? Which stories have shaped my reality, and which are ready to be released? This is not a moment of judgment, but of clarity, a recognition that freedom is built not by accumulating experiences, but by consciously choosing which experiences to carry within you. Journaling, meditation, or even quiet contemplation in the early morning can serve as tools for this reflection. Each insight compounds, each revelation strengthens the architecture of your inner life, and every conscious choice to release, observe, and respond rather than react solidifies the sovereignty you have been cultivating. Life's turbulence may never cease, but your ability to meet it unshaken grows with every intentional act. And as your inner calm deepens, you will begin to notice a shift in your interactions with others. Where before you may have reacted to criticism, fear, or disappointment, now you respond from presence, compassion, and understanding. This does not mean detachment dulls your emotions. It amplifies their clarity. You feel deeply, yes, but with the wisdom to choose your response, to guide your energy with intention. Others sense this presence. Your calm becomes magnetic, your clarity contagious. You are no longer carried by the currents of other people's emotions or the chaos of circumstance, but instead, you move through life like a river guided by purpose, powerful and unshakable in its flow. And if you wish to continue receiving guidance on sustaining this state, subscribing ensures you never lose touch with this practice, even in life's busiest moments. Yet there is an even deeper truth. Detachment is the gateway to profound creativity, courage, and contribution. Freed from the tyranny of constant reactivity, your mind and heart are liberated to focus on creation rather than defense, on vision rather than survival. Every project you undertake, every relationship you nurture, every idea you manifest is infused with intention and clarity rather than cluttered by fear or expectation. The life you build begins to reflect your highest values, your deepest purpose, and your ability to engage fully without losing yourself. Detachment is not a retreat. It is the armor and the wings, the means by which you act decisively, think clearly, and love authentically all at once. And still, life will challenge this mastery. Unexpected events, betrayals, losses, and disappointments will test the foundation you have built. In these moments, remember that detachment is not indifference, it is resilience. It is the ability to feel fully without being overwhelmed, to engage without being controlled, to act without surrendering your center. You will stumble. You will be tempted to grasp, to react, to cling. And yet, each pause, each conscious breath, each moment of observation without surrender reinforces the sovereignty you have cultivated. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes natural, what once demanded effort becomes effortless, and the storms of life no longer shake your inner core. The final layer of this journey is integration into your daily life. Let detachment become habitual, woven into the fabric of each day. Begin mornings with intention, middays with presence, and evenings with reflection. Observe without clinging, act without compulsion, and respond with clarity. Let every challenge, every success, every fleeting emotion serve as a reminder to return to your center. Over time, this practice transforms not only your experience but the very quality of your existence, allowing you to live fully while remaining grounded, to love deeply without losing yourself, and to act decisively without being carried away by impulse. And as you carry this wisdom forward, let it extend outward. Your presence, calm and deliberate, becomes a quiet force in your environment. You influence without controlling, guide without forcing, inspire without preaching. This is the ultimate reward of emotional detachment, a life lived fully with power, grace, and purpose, where every choice is deliberate, every action aligned, and every emotion understood but not commanding. Let this be your daily practice, your internal lighthouse, your unwavering companion in the unfolding journey of life. Take a moment now to internalize these lessons, letting them sink into your body, mind, and spirit. Let the pauses between breaths remind you that sovereignty is already yours, that mastery is a practice, and that freedom is cultivated in every moment of conscious observation. Take this message into your next breath, into your next choice, into your next moment. Carry it into your interactions, your decisions, your reflections. And as you do, remember that this journey is ongoing. Emotional detachment is not a destination. It is a living, breathing practice that shapes not only your inner world, but the world you touch with your presence. Rise again, rise present, rise deliberate. Rise not by force, but by awareness. Rise through reflection, through compassion, through conscious engagement. Let every action honor your higher self, every choice reflect clarity, and every breath remind you of the sovereignty you have cultivated. The storms will come, yet you will remain steady. You are the calm in the chaos, the observer in the storm, the architect of your inner world. And as you continue on this path, subscribing becomes a quiet covenant with your own growth, a reminder that this practice, this sovereignty, this freedom, is always within reach whenever life beckons you back into presence.